were there before the Great War of 1914. Pomp, pageantry, parades, the show of might, with drums beating and guns yet silent. It is peacetime in Imperial Germany in the first decade of our century. The All-Highest Wilhelm II, by the grace of God, German Emperor, King of Prussia, has announced to his subjects, "I will lead you into glorious times." Germany, youngest of the world's empires, is powerful, prosperous, proud. But in the expanding glory of Imperial Germany, her neighbors see something else: intimidation. It is the twilight of royalty, governing with romantic serenity over a Europe long accustomed to peace. King George and Queen Mary of England pay courtesy calls on the Queen's aunt, the Dowager Grand Duchess of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, and on the King's first cousin, the Kaiser. War seems a thing of the past. In the words of a young historian named Winston Churchill, civilization has climbed above such perils. Christian charity, common sense have rendered such nightmares impossible. But he adds, it would be a pity to be wrong. Wilhelm II is also related to Nicholas II, Tsar of all the Russias. But beneath dynastic ties run deep divisions. The Kaiser heads the Triple Alliance: Germany, Austria-Hungary, Italy. But the Tsar belongs to the Triple Entente: Russia, France, Great Britain. Tsar and Kaiser are on opposite sides in the precarious balance of power which it is hoped will preserve the peace. It would be a pity to be wrong. If Russia is suspicious of German power and France resentful and England wary, the Kaiser can boast an ally elsewhere. Franz Joseph of Austria-Hungary, aging emperor of an aging empire. Among the major powers of Europe, the Kaiser, with an arrogance that breeds antagonism, has alienated the strongest and bound himself to the weakest. Wilhelm II, it is said, is like a man strolling among barrels of gunpowder with a lighted cigarette. And still another royal reception. The Kaiser greets Albert, King of the Belgians, whose neutrality Germany is pledged by treaty to respect. Treaties, alliances, ententes, everything seems conveniently arranged, permanently settled. And then, June 28, 1914, the heir to the throne of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, is assassinated at Sarajevo in the Balkans. Is an archduke worth a war? On this issue, diplomats and generals begin to enmesh themselves in an unbreakable chain of blind causation. Austria, believing her prestige at stake and her empire threatened, accuses Serbia of instigating the archduke's murder. But if Austria marches, Russia, who also desires to dominate the Balkans, may intervene to stop her. How will Germany react to that? Europe's destiny depends on the answer. The European crisis finds Imperial Germany at the height of her power, at sea as well as on land. Her newborn fleet is an open challenge to the ancient naval supremacy of Great Britain. Her expanding sea power is just one more cause of alarm for her neighbor France and her rival England. And now the Kaiser drops his lighted cigarette. To his ally Austria, he promises support, which the Austrians use as a blank check to break Serbia. With the surface fleet, modern submarines, never before used in war but ready for action, backed by the most potent industry on the continent. So the stage is set as the weeks of July 1914 slip away and the death of the Archduke is all but forgotten in the rush to disaster. As if, says one bewildered observer, the unconscious boredom of peace over nearly 50 unbroken years had stored up in the nations a terrific potential which only awaited an accident to touch it off. slithered over the brink into the boiling cauldron of war. Amongst the rulers and statesmen who alone could give the final word which caused great armies to spring from the ground and march to and across frontiers, not one of them wanted war, according to the English statesman Lloyd George. But Europe goes singing to the battlefields, and in Paris they are saying, "À Berlin, on to Berlin," to recover the provinces of Alsace and Lorraine lost in the Franco-Prussian War and to support their ally Russia. And in Berlin they are saying, "Nach Paris, on to Paris," to crush an ancient enemy. Deutschland, Deutschland über alles. Wiedersehen, some to the east, more to the west, where the line of march lies through Belgium toward France and the Channel ports. Belgium's neutrality has become a scrap of paper. With the rape of Belgium, the Great War begins. The hopelessly outnumbered Belgian army stands and resists, and even delays the German drive at Liège, the first setback to the grand strategy of the High Command, which called for a swift war of annihilation. Yes, the Belgians delay the Germans, but they cannot stop them. Nothing stops the Germans, the Huns as their enemies call them, in their juggernaut advance through Belgium toward Paris and the English Channel. Like a force of nature, a tidal wave, an avalanche, the German armies sweep 250 miles in 14 days. Their government bluntly announces, "We act in self-defense. We have broken international law. Necessity knows no law." Great Britain, August 4th, 1914. With the invasion of neutral Belgium, the British declare war and send their handful of regular army troops, all they have, across the Channel. These men know it's a long way to Tipperary, and they also know there's a long way to go. The Kaiser calls them a contemptible little army, and the soldiers promptly adopt the name, the Old Contemptibles. Not since the days of Napoleon has a major British force fought on the continent, but now their mission is crucial, to bolster the faltering French and save the Channel ports, whose seizure by the Germans would be disastrous for England and her allies. The Hun is at the gate of Paris, and the French use their taxi cabs, every means of transportation, to rush every available soldier to the front, a mere 18 miles away. On les aura. We will get them. And the French do, at the Marne, in the miracle of the Marne, where the Germans are stopped. France goes to battle in the spirit of her commander, General Foch. My left is broken, my right is weakening, the situation is excellent. I am attacking. Zephaniah wrote, "That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men." Far from the broils of Europe, the United States of America, isolated, self-centered, self-contained, hearing only the vague, distant cry of war. Sympathy, yes, for bleeding Belgium, and there are gifts of food and clothing, but for the rest, the words of President Woodrow Wilson: "Be neutral in fact as well as in name, impartial in thought as well as action." The man in the street puts it more simply: it's none of our business. In busy New York, by the beautiful sea, business as usual on Saturday morning, May the 1st, 1915. There's no special reason to notice the date except for those whose goal is Pier 54, where the great Cunard liners dock. Today, a ship, the fastest and largest steamer now in Atlantic service, is sailing for England. The passenger ships are sailing much as usual despite the war. Britannia still rules the waves. With almost 2,000 passengers and crew aboard, the Lusitania sails on schedule, confident that her 25 knots can outrun any German submarine blockading the British Isles. Why pay any attention to an advertisement that appeared in this morning's newspapers? Travelers intending to embark on the Atlantic voyage are reminded that vessels flying the flag of Great Britain are liable to destruction in the war zone. Signed, Imperial German Embassy. The crossing occupies 6 sunny, uneventful days, and on May the 7th, the shoreline of Southern Ireland is in sight. The voyage is almost over. From the log of the German submarine U-20, Kapitän Leutnant Spieger commanding. Dead ahead, 4 funnels and 2 masts of a steamer. Clean bow shot from 700-meter range. Nearly 1,200 men, women, and children drowned, including 124 Americans. More, much more than a voyage ends with the sinking of the Lusitania. In the eyes of millions of Americans, Germany becomes an international outlaw, a menace to civilization. Kaiser Wilhelm is made the target of mounting indignation, a symbol of rampant militarism, of ruthless autocracy, of Prussian Schrecklichkeit, frightfulness. Americans begin to think, it is our business. But I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier remains the sentiment of the American Peace Society, the Friends of Peace, and others who demonstrate against any involvement in Europe. Emotional forces are aroused. Deep social currents are running beyond the ability of man to fathom and foresee. In Washington, Woodrow Wilson is serving his second term, re-elected on the slogan, "He kept us out of war." Now, the impact of unrestricted submarine warfare, the ties of language, tradition, and commerce with the Allies, the growing revulsion against Prussian militarism, are threatening to force new decisions, new policies on the president. But as leader of the world's mightiest neutral, he would like to remain neutral and become peacemaker to the world by negotiating the end of the war. He advocates, works for a peace without victory in Europe. To another articulate and forceful American leader, the words of Woodrow Wilson are weasel words. Theodore Roosevelt, ex-president, rough-riding hero of San Juan Hill, and now strenuous spokesman for the Allied cause. Like many another American, he passionately feels that Wilson's moderation is jeopardizing both America's honor and her security. Teddy is for action, action with armed force if necessary. And millions agree, even if it means, as it does, a break with the isolationist past. Washington, February 1917. The German government informs Wilson that unrestricted submarine warfare, temporarily suspended to appease the Americans, will be resumed. Aimed at defeating England, the German move violates again the American concept of freedom of the seas, of freedom itself. Wilson's personal envoy to Europe, Colonel House, has long urged intervention. Secretary of State Lansing supports the president in breaking off diplomatic relations with Germany, as does Newton D. Baker, the Secretary of War. The Secretary of the Navy, Josephus Daniels, lays aside his pacifism as events move inexorably beyond the stage of diplomatic action. In March, a German plot to involve Mexico in a war with the United States is uncovered, following close on other revelations of German sabotage and conspiracy in America. April 2nd, Woodrow Wilson goes to the Congress. Neutrality is no longer feasible or desirable. It is a fearful thing to lead this great peaceful people into war, into the most terrible and disastrous of all wars, civilization itself seeming to be in the balance. But the right is more precious than peace. The world must be made safe for democracy. Cheers and songs and flag waving. America goes to war wide-eyed and eager. My message was a message of death for our young men. How strange it seems to applaud that, confides Woodrow Wilson. And he publicly declares, it is not an army we must shape for war, it is a nation. 10 million register for the draft, and the whole country submits to government control and direction on a scale never before imagined. In a few swift months, the United States undergoes its deepest transformation since the Civil War, as the country answers the President's call for force to the utmost, force without stint or limit. mobilization of the mind, given new scope and intensity by the American genius for advertising. Never before has the art of propaganda been used so widely and successfully as in rallying the nation behind the Great War. Movie favorites like Marie Dressler are a powerful new influence on the national scene, and the whole rising galaxy of Hollywood stars twinkles patriotically to boost the sale of Liberty bonds. America's sweetheart, Mary Pickford, does her bit. I'm in love with you, pretty baby. Charlie Chaplin. Douglas Fairbanks. The Germans have said, the Americans cannot swim, they cannot fly, they will not come. But the Americans are singing, we'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't be back till it's over there. Goodbye Broadway, hello France for more than 2 million young Americans. And with them goes something more powerful than all their weapons and equipment. The words of Woodrow Wilson. We have no selfish ends to serve. We desire no conquest, no dominion. We fight for the ultimate peace of the world and for the liberation of her peoples, the German peoples included. For millions on both sides, the words of Wilson lift the war high above the stalemated slaughter of the battlefields, above the savage strangling on the sea and under it, and give it moral significance. A war to end war. The American Expeditionary Force, the AEF in France. For the war-worn British, it is the last great reserve army of civilization. In its coming, the French see the magical operation of a blood transfusion, the arrival of new life in floods to reanimate the mangled body of France, bled white by the innumerable wounds of war. The Yanks have come. The Yanks are over there. General John J. Black Jack Pershing, commander of the American troops, applauds the words of his subordinates. Lafayette, nous voici. Lafayette, we are here. Before battle, months of training, reorganization, and deployment time to see something of France, which of course means Paris. Back home, they're having wheatless Mondays and meatless Tuesdays and hunting spies and hounding slackers. But behind the lines in France, the most important thing, the most important girl in the world is Mademoiselle from Armentières, who hasn't been kissed in 40 years. Oh, the general got the croix de guerre, but the son of a gun was never there. Hinky-dinky parley-woo. The front, the war, it is waiting, not very far away. The fields of France and Flanders, no man's land. After 3.5 years of futile attack and bloody repulse, victory seems no nearer for either side. 700,000 casualties, French and German, at Verdun, and nothing gained. 60,000 British lost in a single day on the Somme, and nothing changed. And the worst comes at Passchendaele, and nothing changes but the casualty list. Do you remember the stretcher cases lurching back with dying eyes and lolling heads? Those ashen gray masks of the lads who once were keen and kind and gay. But in spite of everything, they sing, "What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile. So pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile." A whole generation, British, French, German, the finest, the best, the bravest on both sides, is fed into the mincing machine. 500 miles of Germans, 500 miles of French and English, Scotch and Irishmen, all fighting for a trench. And when the trench is taken and many thousands slain, the losers, with more slaughter, retake the trench again. As 1917 ends, the trenches run unchanged from Switzerland to the English Channel, and the greatest battle of all is yet to come. Field marshals will decide when, generals will decide where. C'est la guerre. But for the men, I have a rendezvous with death at some disputed barricade when spring comes back with rustling shade and apple blossoms fill the air. And I to my pledged word am true. I shall not fail that rendezvous. The German High Command. With the coming of 1918 comes a momentous decision. The Central Powers, Germany, Austria, Turkey, Bulgaria, have a new Supreme Commander, Field Marshal Hindenburg, hero of the strategic victories which have defeated Imperial Russia and paved the way for the Communist Revolution. But Germany's war at sea has failed, and the Western Front is deadlocked. So Hindenburg and the General Staff decide on what they admit is a gambler's throw in the West, where the war will be won or lost. With Russia eliminated, the High Command moves 1 million battle-hardened troops and 3,000 guns from east to west. The race for France begins. Can Germany apply overpowering pressure against the exhausted British and the depleted French before American military might comes into full play. Says Hindenburg, that and that only is the decisive question. Time will no longer wait for either side. Behind the Kaiser's unbroken military front, unrest is simmering. Great Britain's naval blockade has sapped the German economy. Germany's allies are faltering. American strength is growing. For Hindenburg and his brilliant chief of staff, Ludendorff, there remains only their gambler's throw. Break the enemy line, split the British from the French, and bring the allies to their knees. Hindenburg's trump in the great gamble, the German soldier. In 4 years of fighting, he has seen the struggle grow from a Balkan murder into the First World War, with 23 nations ranged against him, including his pre-war ally, Italy. Outnumbered everywhere, from the New World to the Orient, his front has been broken nowhere, and the casualties he inflicts are always bloodier than the casualties he suffers. For months now, his communiques have read, "Im Westen nichts Neues," all quiet on the Western Front. For the first time since the invasion of Belgium, German numerical superiority in the West. 750,000 men secretly marshaled along a 50-mile front. March the 21st, 1918. The great offensive of the Great War. The French and British lines crack and break. In assault after assault, the Germans close in on Paris and threaten the English Channel. Allied order of the day to all ranks in France and Flanders. Every position must be held to the last man. There must be no retirement. With our backs to the wall and believing in the justice of our cause, each one of us must fight on to the end. The safety of our homes and the freedom of mankind depend upon the conduct of each of us at this critical moment. And the Allied governments informed the United States, there is great danger of the war being lost unless the numerical inferiority of the Allies can be remedied as rapidly as possible by the advent of American troops. Now suddenly the roads to the front begin to be filled with endless streams of Americans. The impression made upon the hard-pressed French by this seemingly inexhaustible flood of gleaming youth in its first maturity of health and vigor is prodigious. Half-trained, half-organized, with only their courage, their numbers, and their magnificent youth behind their weapons, they are to buy their experience at a bitter price. But this they are quite willing to do. So Winston Churchill describes the advent of the Americans on the Western Front as the caissons go rolling along. A new kind of war with a new dimension. The pain and dying are the same, but man's inventive genius has improved the methods of inflicting pain and death. For the infantry, the new rapid-fire machine gun, the new heavy cannon of Krupp and Skoda, and newest of all, killing by chemistry, liquid fire and poison gas. And from the air, strafing and bombardment. For the new kind of fighter, the pilot, another new kind of death. The dogfight. The big parade, to support the British at Amiens, to hold them on bridges with the French at Château-Thierry. Now there will be new names to rank with Yorktown and Gettysburg and Manila Bay. There will be Belleau Wood and San Miguel, and the Second Battle of the Marne, with Paris less than 100 kilometers away. It is 0 hour for the AEF. July 1918, counterattack, over the top. For the Yanks, it's heaven, hell, or Hoboken by Christmas. And the Marines yell, "Come on, you! Do you want to live forever?" General Pershing. Due to the magnificent dash and power displayed on the field of Soissons, the tide of war is definitely turned. German resistance, heroic. German losses, disastrous. Their exhausted infantry now must cope with tanks, conceived and perfected by the British, who used them to breach the Hindenburg Line on August the 8th. The Black Day of the German Army. Field Marshal Foch's order of the day. Everyone is to attack as soon as he can, as strong as he can, for as long as he can. And again the cry of the Marne, on les aura. Late September 1918. The greatest assault yet launched by American soldiers, the Meuse-Argonne offensive. In 40 days of slugging, the Allies break the Hindenburg Line. There are perhaps 10 million men dead of this war, and perhaps 100 million persons to whom death would be a blessing, writes an American ambassador in Europe. And he adds, the hills about Verdun are not blown to pieces worse than the whole social structure and the intellectual and spiritual life of Europe. I wonder that anybody is sane. I will lead you into glorious times, the Kaiser once said. But now his subjects say, better an end with terror than terror without end. 4 months of shattering defeat at the front, unrest, revolution, mutiny at home, the hope of a just peace and a better, freer world as promised by President Wilson's 14 points. All these have at last destroyed the German army and its allies. Hindenburg admits, the struggle was beyond our strength. November 11th, 1918, 11 a.m. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The Kaiser has fled to Holland. Imperial Germany has ceased to exist. The Great War is over. Marie, the Great War is won. But what good came of it at last, quoth little Peterkin. Why, that I cannot tell, said he, but 'twas a famous victory. The Yanks, home from the yesterdays of the old world, home to the tomorrows of the new world. Their country has emerged from the Great War as the most powerful nation on earth. An era has ended, another begins. And we won't come back till it's over there. 50,000 Yanks will never come back. But those that do, believe that it is over there, that they have made the world safe for democracy, that they have fought the war to end war. And so, Johnny comes marching home.